Okay, good. Let's start. Hey everyone, welcome to XCamp number 49 Education Forum. My name is Charlie. I'm the co-founder and the principal of XCamp. Today, another co-founder, Yuan, he will give us a talk about how to pass, how to prepare USACO Silver and Gold. He will lay out the roadmap. Hopefully, through today's discussion, you will learn, especially for the next whole year, we have about 8 months to prepare. Okay, Yuan, I like to turn the screen to you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Charlie. Today, this is the agenda for today's event. And first, I'll go over some quick introduction and for myself and also for XCamp, also for USACO. And then I will focus on USACO Silver level, what's the level about, and also the suggestions for passing this level. After that, it's going to be Gold level. And in the end, we will also talk about the XCamp's offerings to help you in your USACO journey. At the very beginning, I will start with a quick video to introduce XCamp, especially for external parents.
Computer science and artificial intelligence are tools that will change the future. XCamp Academy is a community dedicated to inspiring and cultivating the next generation of computer science and artificial intelligence talent. XCamp Academy was founded in August 2017 in Silicon Valley by 2 Google software engineers. The name XCamp was inspired by the variable X, which represents unlimited opportunities. XCamp's curriculum system and training methodology is inherited from Mr. Xianyou Xu, a Chinese diamond-level international gold medal coach. Our staff here in the US is mostly composed of senior software engineers from tech companies in Silicon Valley. In addition, we have strong support from international and domestic competition winners in our coach team. From beginner-level Python to classic C++ courses and competition honors courses, XCamp's curriculum is designed for students of all different levels. By participating in team-based competitions and facilitating frequent group study sessions, XCamp also fosters an environment of collaboration to build each student's confidence in their ability to code. As of now, more than 150 XCamp students have been qualified for USACO Silver Division and above, including 25 in the Platinum Division and 5 were selected in the US Camp, out of which 4 were fresh from the 2022 season. In 2022, in Stanford's renowned high school programming competition PROCO, XCamp students won first and second place in the Advanced Division. In other well-known Bay Area programming competitions, such as the Harker Programming Invitational and Teams Code, XCamp students have won both novice and advanced groups top places. Here at XCamp, we believe that children have unlimited potential and can change the world through coding.
Okay, thanks everyone. A quick introduction about myself. I've been leading XCamp's teaching, coaching, and teaching research and technology. And I'm the XCamp's co-founder and the president. And I had worked in a large-scale distributed system supporting core business in one of the major high-tech company for a long time. And at XCamp, we've built the teaching system, teaching and coaching team, and the systematic curriculum with the key results. I can think of like 3 very key results here. Number one would be the complete curriculum from beginner level all the way to masterclass level. And up to the latest statistic we've collected, we have more than 200 students reach the USACO Silver and above. And for the past 3 years, we have 3 USACO national camper finalists. So that means all these 10 students entered the US top 26 of that year. And this year, we at least have 5. We are still waiting for the final results. So for the 2022 and the 2023 USACO season, we have the following competition results. The first one would be like in this season, we have multiple students entered the top 10 in the highest level, platinum level of USACO. And we have 10 students past the USACO Gold entered platinum level. Up to today, we've heard five of our students got a USACO Camp finalist invitation as well. In the hacker programming invitation, we got the second, third, and fourth place in both novice and advanced level. And in the Stanford Proco, we got the second, third in advanced level and the first in novice level. For the Berkeley Calico, our team got the second place in the advanced level as well. So overall speaking, it's a pretty successful season for XCamp in terms of competition rewards. And thanks for all the parents' support and students' hard work. So talking about USACO, it is let me mute. Sorry. Talking about USACO is short for USC Computing Olympiad, and essentially it tests participants in the following aspects. First of all, it's a programming solving skill competition. Although it's called Computing Olympiad, but essentially it's to solve some math problem or logic-based problem with algorithm and with data structure knowledge. And in the end, you want to use programming as an approach to implement the idea. And for the two levels that we are focusing today, it is the silver level and gold level. I want to dive with a little bit more detail. First of all, USACO test is always a 4-hour window. And for the US Open is with 5 hours. So over a year, there are four contests typically happen in December, the next year's January, February, and March. And each month there are one competition. For each competition, students are given three problems to solve. And overall, there are 4 levels: is bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. For the silver and the gold is the level we are focusing on today. And for the silver level, overall speaking, if think about it as a black box, once you pass silver, that really means that you have a fantastic engineering skills that can support you in all STEM activities, including robotics. You can even do some research in AI, taking AI class and developing some websites, developing some AI projects on your own, or maybe even work with someone to start a company, even starting from the senior high school. And I've seen some students pass the silver, and they are starting to be able to write some research paper as well. And in the meanwhile, passing silver also means that you are capable of passing some, like majority of the entry-level tech interview coding questions. So that means USACO Silver is not just a competition level. It also comes with lots of side product that you can take advantage of. And for the gold level, typically it's like every competition we saw from the past results, we saw around 100 students passed gold and advanced to platinum level. 100 students in the United States means that you are pretty much top 2 in a state in average, right? There are 50 states in the United States. It's actually a pretty difficult level. And overall speaking, there will be 4 competitions in a year, then probably several hundreds of students advance to platinum level. And then of your grade, since students spread out in different grades in senior high school, typically that means you are probably top 150 to top 200 in the US of your grade. So it's really top of the pyramid. And the passing gold is a very fantastic accomplishment to make. So with that in mind, I want to dive into the silver level. For the silver level, the foundation are the following. First of all, it's no longer a knowledge-based competition. So most of the time, the algorithm will try to hide the complexity, hide what is really want to test you about behind the conditions, behind the story. So you will need to, first of all, dive into the complexity of the problem description, read the problem. And once you have some kind of idea to solve the problem, you will need to try to analyze what's the complexity of the problem. So that means whether my algorithm is fast enough, right? So complexity analysis is pretty important in this level. So in bronze level, it's not that obvious, but in silver level, you would definitely want to master how to measure the complexity of an algorithm, at least approximately what's the complexity. Is it fast enough for me to even code it? Or is just a brute force that I cannot code it right away? And for DFS, BFS is short for depth first search and breadth first search. These are very, very fundamental and also very critical topics that you should master it to a really, really mature level. What does that mean? That means it's not like you take a class, this is DFS, and I write 1 or 2 problems, and then that's it. It's not like that. Master it to a mature level. That really means that for any kind of problem, the first intuition or first method you can think of is always DFS or BFS, because they are very, very native, very, very fundamental search algorithm that can support you to solve almost all the problem. And also the very, very raw algorithm, the baseline algorithm that you can further optimize or develop based on, right? So that really means I hope you can always solve a problem with DFS. Maybe it's too slow, right? But at least this can buy you 30% of the scores of that problem. And the same thing about BFS. It's just a different approach, different strategy to search. But fundamentally, both of them will try to teach you, will let you master how to do modeling about a problem, how to frame a problem, how to name the problem with a function. And once you name the problem with a function, you'll be able to, consider what parameter I should attach with this function. And what's the relationship between different scale, different size of a problem. Then that comes with greedy algorithm, dynamic programming, and all other optimizations and the data structures. That's why we say like DFS and BFS is a pillar of algorithm. And almost all the advanced topics, no matter it's algorithm or data structure, is all based on, when we talk about implementation level, it's all based on DFS or BFS or some related topics. And for graph and dynamic programming, these are also recent years, we also see these kind of topics start to appear. And graph topics, it typically just goes to shortest path and minimum spanning tree. That should be good enough. And the simple variations together with the implementation, you should know it too. For basic dynamic programming, that means it won't go super complicated, go with some advanced optimization. But the very basic dynamic programming is not that easy as well, because it requires you to master the fundamental way to do modeling of a problem, and that is connected with DFS. We don't have time today to dive into details, but basically dynamic programming, you should build up the sense of how to frame the problem, how to fill a table to start with, and over time you want to think about, based on different topological structure of the problem's nature, how can I take advantage of the once I have a function to define the problem, how can I find out the relationship between a bigger problem and a smaller problem? And then over time, you want to have a summary for different structure and approach for different structure of a problem. How can I have a summary over, for example, for 1D structure, typically, how can I do modeling? For 2D structure, how to do modeling? So in a word, there are countless DP problems, dynamic programming problems, online, probably in some websites. But the key is to always develop some summaries to be able to understand when you see a new problem, how to approach it with analyzing the topological structure, and then how to find out the relationship between different sides of a problem. And several related application topics would be binary search on answer, prefix sum, two-pointer, and sweep line. These are not like a fundamental topics, because they don't have a dependency on each other. They all depend on more fundamental topics such as DFS or BFS, but they are very important applications in Silver level. And for binary search on answer, essentially is the for order-based relationship or structure. How can you take advantage of that? For prefix sum, essentially is building index of your data so that you can obtain the benefits of speeding up your algorithm. For two-pointer, it's going to be also similar to the binary search. It's going to be order-based structure, how to do the speed up optimization. For sweep line, it typically is a 2D to 1D optimization. Essentially over here, for these application topics, you want to develop a sense of intuition. For example, for binary search on answer, typically what kind of a style or what kind of a condition of the problem would reflect is a binary search on answer. That typically involves, compute some mean value or max value, or minimum max value or maximum minimum value. This kind of a condition will typically indicate is the binary search on answer. And also sometimes the data range will give you some hint too. For example, the final answer is like with a very huge range, like 10 to the power of 12 or even higher. Then if you find out something like that, typically is very likely is to be a binary search answer, because otherwise, even with the ON complexity of algorithm, you are timeout, right? So all these kind of intuition and the signals are all something that you can build up once you learn the knowledge. After you learn knowledge, do some practice. Similarly, for prefix sum and the two-pointer, these two algorithms typically appear in a list of items, especially when you say list of items, and if it's with order, and you want to find out some range of value, range of elements that meeting some certain requirements, then you can think of whether it's ordered or not. If it's ordered, then probably is a two-pointer. And then you can think further. So by developing this kind of intuition, you'll be able to gradually have your own cheat sheet about the problem solving in these 4 dimensions. And typically that's good enough for Silver topics in terms of knowledge. So for Silver, it's still I would say like knowledge plus ability level, in the sense that as long as you master all these fundamental topics together with the application topics, you are pretty much there. With some more practice and a competition level experience, then you'll be able to more easily to construct the sense of competition and the ability to pass Silver. So there are some Silver unwritten syllabus as well. First of all, to solve a Silver problem, you should typically find it comfortable to write around 50 lines of code to 100 lines of code. And you want to be able to capable of implement some classic algorithm in the previous page. So note that in this page, we listed lots of different things, right? So the important thing is that you want to be able to comfortably to write codes with a classic implementation very quickly without even thinking too much about it. That typically comes from either practicing enough number of problems, or you just practice on purpose over speed. Not just the typing, but also you are able to think in a modular way and implement your codes, design your codes in a modular with abstractions. And coding speed that also comes from practice. Sometimes I also call this like is purely based on muscle memory, just like a music instrument. When you try to play some D string or A string, you don't have to think about how should I position my left hand or right hand if you are playing violin, right? You just want to naturally adjust to that position and then play it. Same thing here for coding. You don't want to think about what kind of a parameter to set up, or maybe what kind of a whether this variable is a global variable or local variable when you are when you are working in a competition. All those things should be your daily work to figure out, and that all comes from your muscle memory coming from your daily practice. And for debugging, it's the same thing. The best way to debug is not to, you don't have to debug at all. That's the best debugging. That means if you design your codes in a structured way and a logical way, then that can reduce the chance of, possibilities of entering the situation where you need to spend a lot of time to debug. And when you indeed have to debug, then you have a single step debugging with Visual Studio Code, or you can develop some skills with GDB if you are advanced enough. And also you can do stress tests and other kind of debugging checks there. But very importantly, try to reduce the chance of entering debugging is a very important thing. And that means the coding speed, muscle memory is something deeper cause of some error or some, sometimes we say we observe different students reach different blockers. Typically, they will say like, "Hey, I'm not very careful this time," or maybe I just cannot debug quickly enough. But deep down, it's just not enough practice, not enough muscle memory built up. That's causing you to slow down in every single step. And eventually you have to debug, spend a lot of time to debug, or maybe you don't have spent enough time on paperwork to think it through before you start coding. And then that means you have to debug something that you shouldn't debug, right? Then that you are entering a pretty suboptimal situation that causing you to waste a lot of time in competitions. And these are the ability side, for coding ability side. For the competition, sense of competition side, you will need to handle the pressure with the 4-hour time limit. Once you enter the real USACO competition, is a 4-hour. There's a there's a timer there, and when you see the problem statements, I saw for a lot of time, I saw some students, their hands are shaking when they enter the competition. And that's actually pretty typical because there's a timer there, the clock is ticking. And if you see the problem statement, even if it's the same problem as your homework, the feeling is totally different. So with time pressure, it's very, very different environment. So you don't want to do the competition for the first time in the real USACO. Instead, do some mock tests and handle the pressure in your daily practice. And especially when the USACO season is approaching, you want to do more mock tests to get used to it. That also comes with the time management as well. So one of the key strategy in competition would be to have a really good time management that fits your use case, fits your situation. And for that part, the time management is not about, I rush to everything. It's all about do the right thing at the right time. That's connected with the last bullet point, which means the good paperwork. It just means when we see the problem, you don't want to rush into anything. Have a piece of paper with your pencil, write down the key conditions, and visualize the condition, as well as having the basic sample test case tried out. You figure out whether the key condition you are observing from problem statement align with the sample test case. That will verify your understanding of a problem, make sure you don't have ambiguity, and also you don't misunderstand. This part will ensure you don't go back and forth later. Even if you spend 10 more minutes in this step, it's worth it, totally worth it. And after that part, you want to try to figure out the algorithm on paper and don't even touch the keyboard at that moment. That really means that you'll be able to gain more room and more time to think at that moment, to avoid any time wasting in, sometimes I saw students spend 1 hour in a problem, and then they start to realize, hey, I didn't solve one condition. That's the reason I couldn't figure out this problem. Or maybe I wrote some codes too quickly, and then I start to debug. And after 2 hours, I realized something went wrong. I shouldn't do this algorithm at all. Then that's just too late. It's gonna beat your, beat your confidence at that moment. So the good strategy is all about, have enough patience at the very beginning. Don't assume anything. Don't even assume problem are solved by difficulty. It's not like a problem 1 is the easiest, problem 2 is in the middle, and the problem 3 is the hardest. Number 1 would be USACO never say that, right? The official website never say sorted by difficulty. Number 2 would be that maybe they roughly started with difficulty, but for different people, difficulty is different, right? The definition of difficulty is different. Maybe for student A, topic X is harder, but for student B, topic B is harder. So always don't assume anything in a competition, and always do the paperwork, read all the questions, have the paperwork done before coding. So coding always is the last step to think about. Just think about it. Coding just the last step to translate your idea into codes. So really is all about good paperwork. And for a lot of time in competitions, you may see some very difficult situations to handle. For example, it's 2 hours down and you are still getting stuck in one problem. What should you do now? You should move on to the next question or stick with the current question for a little longer. When the contest ends, when you look back, you can always find out the most optimal strategy for yourself. But when you are still in a competition, we don't really have the best strategy in your mind if you don't go through enough practice or enough sort of repetition of the similar situations, right? So we want to train you, or you want yourself to be trained so that you don't have to think that much in a real competition, panic about what to do next. It's all come from every single tiny details and tiny steps and tiny mistakes that you made in your daily practice. So for Silver, for students, here are some suggestions. First of all, of course, without enough knowledge base, it's going to be very difficult everywhere. So you want to have get your knowledge covered. So essentially for the knowledge here, I would say DFS and BFS. Maybe people say like, hey, I've never seen these kind of question in Silver, or maybe for this competition, I don't see DFS. Why you talk about DFS, right? For example, like in US Open this year, there were no DFS question, if I remember correctly. Why you want to say like DFS important? But DFS is the fundamental, so fundamental that it serves as the as the building block for more advanced stuff. So you really need to get all these fundamental topics all solidly mastered. And then for these applications, you want to be able to really know how to apply them in real problems, especially build up the intuition behind them in terms of which condition or what kind of flag will typically highlight or indicate is falling into a certain category of a problem. So all these intuition all come from, you either work on more problems and have summary, or you do enough mock tests, both okay. And especially when you approach the real competition, you want to do more mock tests. I covered both of these in essentially just to make sure you get your knowledge really completed. And second of all, of course, you want to get prepared for the competition. And getting ready competition-wise is actually is not a very easy goal to achieve. So commitment in practicing a lot to build muscle memory, and that can be done with more problems to be practiced, and also with mock tests. Mock tests is not like you open USACO official website, check out one of the past problem set and sit there and then chill and then working on some problems, look at the problem for a while, and then switch to your school homework to relax, or maybe go to YouTube, watch a video, and then come back and then write some codes, and then you cannot pass, and then go back to rest for some time again. It's not like mock test like that. Essentially, the mock test means that you really want to have a very strict coding. Let me mute quickly. Mock test is really about, you have to sit there for 4 hours. No matter whether you see any progress or not, you have to sit there for 4 hours. And you simulate the competition environment in real life. And you want to hit all those bumpers, real bumpers, no matter it's in algorithm design phase or implementation phase, or maybe you make different kinds of mistake, like you misunderstood the problem, or maybe you didn't look at one sentence that caused you to waste 3 hours. All those kind of a condition, you want them to be triggered, and you want them to happen in your daily practice, in your mock tests. This also means lots of failures and frustrations, and you want to find out these things and then absolve them, fix them, and write summary about them so that you don't make mistake again in the future. So this is actually a pretty difficult process to do, because not only because of the topics are difficult, but also about, this is all about discipline. This is all about to do the right thing, to force yourself to enter the very sometimes it's even painful process. So that means this process is actually purely by preparation for the competition. If it's just purely for knowledge buildup, then actually you don't have to go through this process if you're not worried about passing silver very soon. So that means jumping into gold knowledge directly would be also an option. So you can defer the competition-oriented training to be a later time. So when you study the silver knowledge, after you complete it, then you can start to build up gold knowledge, and you don't have to worry about silver competition at all. And when your knowledge goes to gold level, then it will be much easier for you to attack silver level questions. And in the same time, you can train yourself in for the competition, for the strategy, for the pressure handling in the same time. So overall speaking, it saves you time, and it's going to be, first of all, shoot up for your knowledge level, and then later lift your competition level as well. So this is also recommended. And then for parents, so silver is a pretty solid level. So it's totally normal. That means it's totally normal to get stuck in silver for several times. if your child gets stuck in Silver for several times, that doesn't mean, hey, it's not, he or she is not talented enough, or maybe, why they get stuck for so many times. Please keep in mind that Silver is no longer a school test or like school quiz that most people can pass. It's a very solid level. For entry-level SDE interview for the first-tier tech companies, it's actually not harder than Silver. So that means if your child is working on passing Silver, they are approaching the level of the first-tier tech-level company interview. And if they pass, I can very comfortably say like the students pretty much being able to pass the SD interview coding questions. And how to help them is that provide a very encouraging environment and help them to find out the gap. Is my child's foundation complete? Is my child's application knowledge complete? These two are the foundations. And then encourage them to do their best and to focus more on knowledge complete instead of passing certain level. Especially try not to compare them with other students, because every single child is very different. Sometimes it takes certain child more time to study certain topics, but maybe for some other topics, they'll be faster. So this is pretty important to provide an encouraging environment for them to pass this level. If your child is pretty young and if they are very into competitive programming, then probably focusing on knowledge build up first would be a good option. And entering or try these competition can harm sometimes it can be frustrating, sometimes it can hurt the motivation for competition as well. So then defer that to GOAT level is a good option too. And on the other hand, passing certain level can also boost their motivation as well. So it's really a two-edged blade here. So you really want to see what's your situation, whether they are very into competitive programming. If they are very competitive, then maybe passing the certain level is also a good boost. If they are not, or maybe if they the motivation mainly come from curiosity or come from, they like the curriculum, then probably build up the knowledge is higher priority than passing certain level. Yeah, so the option here would be like, do not even care about whether passing USACO certain level until their knowledge reach GOAT level. And their knowledge reaching GOAT level is far from passing GOAT. So it's sort of a GOAT starting point. So this is very important thing to understand. So for GOAT, it's going to be a very, very different level than Silver. There's from bronze to Silver, let's say the gap is probably 5. Then from Silver to GOAT, the gap is much, much larger. And although I only listed several keywords here, but the actual content or the actual problem, the difficulty, the level of details, the number of checks, number of variations is much, much richer than Silver level. Typically, the foundations will include like greedy algorithm, strategy, graph structure, dynamic programming, maths, and a subset of the application topics would include range query, tree-based structure and algorithm, and the DP optimizations. These are like just several keywords, but the actual content is much richer. So it's I would say like think of this as a tree. The tree grow, the branch is kind of a slim. When it grows up, then it will branch out to have leaves, to have smaller branches. So all those small, tiny techniques, it's gonna take you much more effort to master over time. So that's why we always say knowledge complete is just the starting point, because if you know how to do shortest path, that's far from being able to solve a GOAT problem that requires you to use shortest path, because GOAT, the problem will try to hide in a much more advanced way. You may not even notice it's a graph problem at all unless you do proper analysis on paper. And that means you really want to think about how to have a proper observation of a problem. And typically, like for GOAT level problems, it's getting harder and harder every year, starting from probably 2 to 3 years ago. So what's the reason behind it? Why they make it harder and harder? That is because in GOAT level, of course, I'm not an author. I cannot say for sure, but that's from our reverse engineering, from our experience, because lots of XCamp coaches and teachers, they are problem authors of lots of competitions. Some of them are even international competition authors. So our experience is that being an author in this level, in GOAT and above level, to have some new problem is actually very difficult. Having some new, fancy or creative and also very good problem is really hard. That means we will do our best to hide the condition. We will do our best to try to have some new idea, but it's hard. So typically, we try to change some past problems or try to stitch multiple problems together to have a new problem. So you really want to try to go to sit there very quietly and very calmly to analyze the problem, to see whether you can unwrap the layers of confusions that we are trying to check you. And that really means that you want to have a very complete problem solving strategy or skills to just like unwrap an onion. You want to get rid of a layer by layer confusions, and then eventually the problem will become something you've seen in the past or something you've practiced, or maybe some classic problems. And in that sense, this process doesn't come naturally. You have to practice a large amount of problems so that you will be able to recognize the patterns, right? So this is all about intuition, the one I also mentioned in Silver. But the difference is that in Silver, look at number of, sorry, it's a little bit far away. Look at the number of applications here, right? For each of the application topic, it doesn't go, expand to lots of branches. Essentially, the intuition behind different topic or different application topic is pretty limited. So that really means that you don't have to practice that much. But in GOAT, in order to build up the intuition about these topics, each one of them can easily branch out 4 to 5 subtopics. And then for those 4 to 5 subtopics, it probably have many more details to master as well. For example, for DP optimization, it's going to include the bitmask optimization to save you space. It's going to include some speed up techniques, such as using a monotonous queue or monotonous stack, right? And it's going to be some more optimization like that. So all those tiny details, if you want to build up the intuition behind them, that really means that you have to go above and beyond in terms of committing to practice more. And these are about material, or about what kind of items you want to cover. But how to achieve that is difficult. So that means you want to become really invested in competitive programming. What does that mean? That means just that coding, or say like USACO training overall, once you reach this stage, It's no longer one of the extra curriculum activities you're doing as for fun. Probably out of 10, 1 out of 10, or 1 out of 5. It's no longer something you do on a whim. Most importantly, you want to think about it as, you know, one of the core profile you want to build, or one of the core commitments you want to do, right? So one of the things we always say, like, you are not strong because you are pass code. You pass code because you are strong. What does that really mean? That really means that if you only focus on passing code, for a lot of time, for a lot of places, you can fall short. For example, if you only think about if I work on all the past code problems, that's not good enough. You actually want to overcommit and over-cover all those small branches, no matter whether they are possible to appear in the code competition or not. As long as it's in code level, you want to over-prepare them. And as long as you focus more on becoming a more mature competitor, become a better problem solver, eventually you will pass. So that means you are not strong because you pass code. You pass code because you are strong enough. And be aware, code is not like a knowledge-oriented context anymore. So that really means that you don't want to just study code knowledge and then that's it, I should be able to pass. That's far from being able to pass. And that's the core reason why you look at the USACO code competition. Like after competition, you look at the problem and read the tutorial. It's not like a super difficult or maybe something you cannot understand. It's probably still feasible if you look at the tutorial. But in a competition, you just cannot figure it out, or maybe you just cannot pass it, right? So that really means it's not knowledge oriented. So knowledge completes a starting point, and you want to build up the ability, or say like the muscle, really strong ability to have the problem solving pattern build up for all the branches of all those main topics. And that means there are lots of details to be mastered, and it's also quite hard, quite difficult to do. But there are lots of rewards here. And for example, the first reward would be once you complete this journey, it's a long pull, and you see so many frustration in the middle. You see so many failures in the middle. You unblock them one by one. You are not seeing quick results very immediately, but you persistently work on it. And then in a few months, you see some results. In half a year, you see a significant improvement. And then over time, you are passing those blockers, bumpers one by one. Eventually, you get it. That's the very, very unique experience that can help you to understand with a long pull effort how you can achieve something major by working out all these small, tiny details, all these difficult blockers one by one. And that's the key to success of lots of your future journeys as well. So I see this as something more important than like, just passing code. And second of all would be like, passing code. Of course, entering Plantium is a very, very good proof that you are on the top of a pyramid nationally. As I said, passing code, that means you are probably in top 100 in that code competition. Top 100 means that top 2 in the state in average, right? So it's a really, really good honor for you to, or milestone for you to obtain. And also number 3 would be with gold level knowledge and ability. That just really means that your algorithm and problem solving skill and data structure knowledge are pretty much above college level. If you look at the MIT or Stanford curriculum in algorithm design, it's all within your range. And even for some topics that we didn't cover, even so for some topics that you didn't cover, right? You can easily understand them by just reading some class notes. So all these things, and there are more for lots of research, lots of different STEM related classes. It's just so easy for you to step into that. And for robotics, for lots of STEM activities, you'll be the major contributor. You can easily become a major contributor of the team, and you can further develop leadership, and also you'll be able to have the ability to influence lots of your younger students, right? For example, like if you have the passion to do coding club, you have a very strong ability to do so. And at XCamp, we also encourage that. We will facilitate you with some materials for you to kind of spread out your impact. So lots of the impact will be possible with the passing gold. So over here, I also wrote some of them are granted even without actually passing gold. What I really want to say is that when you chase gold this level, you are already building up your journey, and it just there's nothing like a progress bar in a coffee machine, so you cannot see it's like 50% or 80%. So what you want to do is just really about remember this sentence: you are not strong because you pass gold. You pass gold because you are strong enough. You want to focus on becoming a more mature and stronger competitor, not just passing gold. That will really lift you and push yourself to be the top of the pyramid. And of course, to do so, you want to have a bandwidth commitment. You are not passing gold by luck. If you pass gold, you are definitely standing on the top of the pyramid. And the USACO must be one of your major commitments if you want to pass gold. And for parents, several points would be like getting stuck and frustrated in this level would be normal, because it's very difficult, and your children are working on becoming the top of her or his grade in the whole country. And gold and beyond is typically a very lonely journey, because even for teachers or coaches, not so many places can offer or facilitate with enough resource to do so. Because people in this level, once they graduate from senior high school, they typically go to really good places, and eventually they will become computer scientists, or like in industry, they become entrepreneurs, or maybe they become high-tech company engineers, right? So that means they will also be very busy. So typically it's very difficult to find really good team or really good groups for help. And students above gold and beyond, they will feel very lonely if they enter this level purely on their own. And after that, every single problem can be a blocker if there's not enough support, and they will feel really frustrated as well. So it's really important to find a very strong team and group for help. That doesn't mean like they go there purely for help. They will be there to help other people as well. So at XCamp, we are building not just to teach one student or two students. That's why typically we don't have a one-to-one tutoring, because we don't find it to be very effective. Instead, for gold and beyond, we try to build a team, build a batch by batch students, so that the students can influence each other. Coach and teacher will help them, but essentially, like if we talk about 100 miles of journey, teacher and the coach will help them up to 95 miles of journey. Typically, for most places, probably the best they can do would be lift them to 80 miles or 85, but we will be able to lift them to 95 or 98. But for the last few miles, it's always about students help each other. They get to the top of pyramid, they will be even better than the teacher and the coach. That's why, year by year, the difficulty of the competition is increasing, and students eventually, if they want to become the top, they have to be even better than the teacher and the coach. And also try to find a very good coaching resource. Why this is so important? That's because given the difficulty level of this level, when students see blockers, when they see some local zone, just like a cocoon, they cannot get out, they really need someone to help them in terms, not just for one problem or two, tell them certain tricks or help them debug some codes. That's not important at all. What's more important is to tell them, hey, you are in the right trajectory, but you have to lift this blocker. And or maybe tell them, maybe you see, you are careless, or maybe you see some, symptom in your competition performance, but essentially what's the root cause of your performance? What's the key to boost your performance to the next level? All these kind of very tiny, small details all come from experience and years of coaching the best students in the past. So what I want to say is that the coaching is not about teach them certain problem. It's all about providing world-class feedback loop for the students so that they understand what does it take to go to the next level. Where am I right now? And depending on where am I right now and where I want to go to, how can I get there? How can I avoid too many detours? And how can I keep a very positive, competitive, attitude? How can I build that confidence as time goes by? And also how to find out a good team with enough good students and enough committed students to help each other and emotionally support each other. And also with good competitive, positive competitive environment is gonna push each other as well. That's really, really important. So yeah, that's for GOAT. Okay, so actually I probably went a little bit over time. Sorry about that. I'll quickly talk about XCamp offerings. At XCamp, we have been spending years to build up curriculums, and we have different team working on different levels. We provide the weekly class from pure beginner level to the USACO Camper and higher level. So we focus on, in the weekly class, we focus on knowledge buildup in the sense that, sorry, there's a typo here. It means stage. So for the knowledge buildup, we try to have we will have a very complete knowledge buildup week by week. And it's the one class stitched with another with a complete, underlying knowledge, try to connect the dots to become a knowledge network. So students, we don't want them to memorize any kind of certain problem have to be solved by certain algorithm. But instead, we want them to have a very, very complete knowledge so that they feel like when I look at a problem, I have a very systematic way to attack the problem by starting from the condition, by connecting the dots in the middle to build a bridge from the condition to the final solution, which is pretty important no matter whether they want to do academic work in the future or like they want to go to industry. And for the masterclass level is going beyond knowledge buildup. For the students enter the competitive programming level in the knowledge buildup stage, we will check whether their performance and their momentum and also most importantly, their commitment are good enough for us to pick them into the masterclass level. And it's invitation-based, mostly internal. And all those students that I talk about who enter the US camp, for 10 students enter the top 26, enter the US camp for the past 3 years, all come from the masterclass level. And it's all about coaching and to provide the world-class teaching resource to push them to do the right things. Because students in this level, first of all, they are proud of themselves. They probably have a lot of accomplishment already. And the knowledge is so difficult that probably it's not very easy for parents or other people to coach them. So we really try to take the burden out of there, and then we will take over to push them to do the right things. Sometimes for themselves, they know what to do, but they just cannot focus on doing the right thing. So we'll help push them to do the homework, to correct the mock test questions, and do all the necessary things to make sure they are on the right track to go to the next step, next stage. Students in this level, they are already very, very good. So typically the bottleneck appearing in that level is sometimes they don't even realize they are in certain bottleneck. So we will help them even observe the bottleneck before they appear, or when they appear, we will quickly tell them what to do. So for this level, the new batch of this program has already started. I think it's probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. We will keep the door open to recruit more students externally, but the spots are pretty limited. Given this is a world-class level of coaching, we want to keep the class size to be small, but also absorb some fresh blood outside to make sure we have different students of a different background and a different journey from the past. And this program is going to be the next batch of students for the next year who will pass USACO Gold, who will have a good score in USACO Platinum, and there will be hopefully more students enter the USACO camp next year. So this year we have 5, at least 5. And we also have a summer camp and a winter camp that is on-site. By the way, the weekly class is online. So it's like we provide a class worldwide, no matter it's the East Coast or West Coast. And for summer camp and winter camp is on-site in California, in the Silicon Valley. And it's a whole day camp environment where students can get together, and we have a very unique rewarding system to help build up their good habits to get focused, and also to help each other, and also get boosted within several consecutive days. For those days, they will focus on coding from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 5 p.m. And over the day, they will have a very intense program to help them to really achieve, much faster progress, and they don't have distractions from schoolwork or other activity. They only do coding in those days. We for a lot of time we found it, some students, they are able to make close to 1 year's progress, even with like 1 to 2 weeks in time invested. Lastly is our mock test classes. Is about the, as I said, mock test is important to passing certain level once you, goes up. So we will provide mock test classes for, first of all, for the master class students. They will start to do mock tests as coaches ask them to do, probably around summer. And for lower level, like silver or bronze, we provide the mock test classes starting from probably September. And this is to simulate the USACO environment every week. Is a 3-hour to 4-hour test, depending on the problem or level. And we will train our students about their habits in competition, strategy in competition, stress handling, and also we will tell them the importance of having a proper paperwork, as well as they will see different type of problem to get their muscles exercised enough, and most importantly, with enough real competitions. They will feel like, hey, every single competition is just like we want them to feel like every single mock test is like a real competition, so that in real competition they will feel like it's a mock test, right? So in that case, they will have a very, very consistent and a very, very mature attitude to handle real competitions. I think that's it. I went a little bit over time, and probably not too much time to QA, but I will try to answer some questions. I'll go from the top. I think there's one parent asking, what's the teacher, which level the teacher is going to teach. So I'm the co-founder of XCamp and in charge of the teaching part. So that means I'm designing all the curriculum and I'm building the team to do the teaching. And typically I don't teach anymore, but I manage the teachers and build up teams. And I still do coaching sometimes as well. So, but I mean, like, if you think I'm good, I'm serving all the good coach or good teachers. They are better than me. So please trust the teachers to teach in a competitive programming level. Next question is going to be yeah. So there's a one parent asking about the teacher. Sorry, her son or his son is in 601, and he's wondering how to go further up in Gold. So as I mentioned, we have the masterclass level. That's actually, let me go to this page. The masterclass level, yeah, masterclass level. So we are starting the 602 prepare and the 603 prepare 2 weeks ago. And we will try to invite students with more problems solved in weekly homework. And also, we also ask the teachers of 601, 400 for recommendation for what kind of students are with the good momentum to receive more intensive training and higher requirement. That means if you think your child is with really focused commitment into USACO Gold and above, then probably you can talk to us to see whether you want your son whether you want your son to enter the 602P program to speed up. This is the speed up program, so that later we will pick the students who are qualified to enter 602 out of this program to get more intensive training. But just keep in mind that this is going to be much more intensive than 601. 601 is more knowledge-based to make sure they are knowledge complete. Yeah. If you have a more question about this, feel free to contact us after the talk, probably tomorrow, and we can help you to diagnose whether it's the right thing to do right now. The next question is going to be within the 4-hour competition window for passing silver. If a student didn't start in finding the right algorithm and debugging, how long will be the reasonable estimation for the student to finish the 3 problem? That's actually a very hard question to answer because it's case by case. So typically, if we look at the passing score for silver, it's typically 700 and 750. Sometimes if the problem are really easy, it's 800. All these are out of 1,000 points. So with this score, if it's 3 problems, each problem represents around 333 points. If we want to achieve 700 or 750, that means you need to complete 2 problems, and then probably you complete half of the problems for the 3rd one. And then out of 4 hours, typically without proper training, the last hour students are really difficult to concentrate. So I would say like the first 2 hours are critical to find the right 2 problems to solve. And that all come from, sorry, let me go up. So that means for the first 2 hours or so, I would really hope students get enough training. They will be able to quickly identify the problem and solve them, solve at least one problem entirely without a blocker. Second problem, probably take some time to think, half an hour to think, and then complete in half an hour or 1 hour. That means like the first 2 hours or 2.5 hours, they should at least finish 2 problems or so. But this is not like a fixed schedule. It's just a good recommendation. And I found that typically for the first question to solve, students who has good muscle memory, they can pretty much finish the first problem like 40 minutes or so. And the second problem, sometimes depending on whether it's difficult or not, they may need more time to explore. But the third problem, I think if they are already, their knowledge level are passing silver and approaching gold, then for the third problem, if they can directly jump to the perfect solution to get 4 points, then that's good. Then they can directly get that. But if not, then they should write a brute force to get a partial score, so that they eventually probably end up with solving half of the problem. But that's still fine. That can get them to like 700 or 750 for sure. So this is just a typical timeline of a competition. And for a lot of time, when you enter highest level of masterclass, coach will ask you to write really detailed summaries about your timeline of a competition, and try to help you to diagnose what's your gap in terms of knowledge, or in terms of strategy, or maybe you have certain gap to fill in and identify the root cause. So I think typically that's the reasonable estimation. And I've also seen some students who are really, competing in silver level, but their actual level are already in gold and above, because they haven't focused on passing certain level yet, or maybe they've been studying for the whole year, and the first time they started USACO would be like they are already in gold level or so. Then sometimes they finish silver problem set within 2 hours. That's also possible. I've seen some cases as well. So that really depends on the different cases. And what is the criteria to sign up for the summer camp for bronze and silver? There's one more question. So for signing up bronze and silver, we would hope students have a good knowledge base over silver and over bronze. That means when students come to the camp, we hope they already know these foundations, but we don't require them to understand how to use these kind of algorithms to take advantage of some of the tricks to go above and beyond to solve tricky questions, but instead just to know the basics. For example, what is prefix sum, and how to implement a very basic version of prefix sum. That will really help them to grow with the more chances and have much better gain out of the camp. That would be our recommended level to sign up for the summer camp. And if you have a certain gap in certain topic, that's fine. We will help you to fill it up. And typically, we will also supplement with certain material, or maybe more material or actual problem set for the students to fill the gap as well. Yeah. Cool. I think I've answered all the questions in the chat. If you have more questions or more items to follow up with us, or maybe if you want to consult regarding our weekly class, let me go down. About our certain classes, like weekly class for knowledge, or master class for coaching, or summer camp, winter camp. Maybe our mock test classes, feel free to contact us. Let me check with Charlie and Shanshan. Charlie and Shanshan, do you have anything else to cover?
Yes, I think that's a very kind of thorough explanation on the preparations. Hope the students could learn. Also, as Yuan just said, if you need any class or even other help or coaching, yeah, feel free to contact us.
Yes, I hope this is helpful. And although with like 1 hour or so, it's very difficult to cover everything, but I will try to talk about the high-level principles and methodologies. I hope that is helpful. That's all for today. And in the future, we'll host more events and provide more insights and information as well. Thanks for coming and taking the time to listen. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. See you next time. Have a good night.